I lay in his bed, too embarrassed to meet his eyes. We both knew what had happened during Tate's dream, but neither of us wanted to acknowledge it. Physical intimacy had always made Tate uncomfortable, and after that night we silently agreed to leave it unspoken. The room was quiet, heavy with shared embarrassment, yet neither of us wanted to move away from the other. Tate and I had always showered or bathed together since our second sleepover when we were 4. Our parents, seeing no issue with our platonic relationship, thought it was adorable. We would splash each other, laugh, and engage in horseplay, our close relationship strengthening with each shared moment. But one day, as we stepped into the shower as teens, I felt different. I looked at Tate, really looked at him, and I saw him in a new light. He was no longer just my closest confidant, but a boy who was changing, growing just like I was. As we showered, I felt a strange sensation in my stomach, a fluttering, a warmth. I looked at Tate, at the water droplets clinging to his skin, at the way his muscles moved beneath the surface. I felt a sudden, intense urge to touch him, to run my hands over his bare chest, to feel the hardness of his body beneath my fingers. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest, as I realized what I was thinking, what I was feeling. Aunt Judith, Uncle Joey, and Uncle Tim eventually found out that Tate and I had showered together the day before Tate's 15th birthday. They made a big deal out of it, eyes wide and voices sharp. "It's not okay," Joey said firmly, and Judith nodded along, looking equally scandalized. Tim said, "It's unacceptable for boys that age to shower together." I remember the way their words hit me, like the normal, innocent closeness we shared had suddenly been turned into something shameful in someone else's eyes. Tate, of course, didn't let it faze him. He laughed it off, brushing it aside with that infuriating calm of his, and said it wasn't a problem at all. "It saved water," he said, like that explained everything, and he shrugged as if it should have been obvious. That was Tate, stubborn, practical, and completely unconcerned with what anyone else thought. He didn't see our closeness as wrong, he didn't hide it. And even when adults tried to impose rules or shame, he never stopped being himself with me. That was the way it always was. No matter the rules, the whispers, or the disgust of those around us, Tate and I found ways to exist together, to share space and time, to touch and laugh without apology. And while the world tried to make us smaller, Tate refused to shrink, not for parents, not for peers, and not even for authority figures who claimed to know better. After Tate turned 15 and his aunt and uncle's outburst about us sharing a shower, we stopped the practice entirely, or at least it was Tate's idea to stop it. I never asked Tate why we never showered together again, because I was embarrassed and terrified of what the reason was. After we stopped showering together, the bed became our sanctuary in a way I hadn't realized before. Nights felt heavier somehow, filled with the quiet rhythm of his breathing and the steady warmth of his body. Tate held me tighter now, his arms wrapped around me as I rested my head against his chest, listening to the rise and fall of him as he slept. Some nights his body trembled against mine, small shudders that told me something was wrong. He didn't always wake me, but I could feel the tension in him, the way his fingers clenched into mine, and the faint whimpering sounds that escaped him in his sleep. I knew those nights weren't just dreams. One night it escalated. I woke to a strange stiffness, his hand twitching uncontrollably. His eyes fluttered, mouth opening in a silent gasp. A mild seizure, I realized instantly, though I had no training, only instinct. My heart leapt, panic rising, and I held him tighter, whispering into his ear. "Tate, it's okay, I'm here, you're safe," I murmured, my lips brushing his temple as I rocked him gently. His body finally relaxed in my arms, the tremors easing slowly, and I stayed with him the rest of the night, stroking his hair, humming softly. His seizures happened every night for a year, slowly getting worse until they stopped. Even in these moments, when the past clawed its way into the present, there was a strange intimacy between us. He wasn't capable of love in the conventional sense, as he had told me, yet he trusted me to hold him, to witness his vulnerabilities. The bed we shared became more than just a possession, more than control. It became the one place where his pain, his history, and the remnants of nightmares could exist without judgment. I stayed awake the rest of that night, listening to him breathe, feeling his pulse against my ear, and in the silence I realized something I hadn't allowed myself to admit. Even without love, we were bound together by trust, by proximity, by the quiet assurance that in the darkness we would keep each other safe. But I knew deep down that something had changed. Something had shifted in our relationship, in our dynamic, in the way we saw each other. And I knew too that it had something to do with that night, with that dream, with the feelings that I had woken up with, feelings that I still didn't quite understand, feelings that I still didn't quite know how to process. Perhaps he felt awkward and stopped showering with me, but why develop seizures? I didn't tell Tate, and I didn't tell anyone. I kept it to myself, kept it locked away deep down inside. And as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, I began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, Tate felt it too. If maybe, just maybe, he was feeling the same way, thinking the same thoughts, having the same dreams. And maybe, just maybe, that was why we had stopped showering together, why we had started to pull away, why we had started to change. But I never asked, never brought it up, never voiced the question that was burning inside me, because I was scared, confused, and unsure. We continued, our relationship evolving in subtle, silent ways, our feelings locked away, deep down inside, unspoken, unacknowledged, unfulfilled. It happened suddenly, without warning, without explanation. One day we were laughing, splashing, playing, and the next, we were dressing, showering, and living separately. I never asked why, never dared to voice the question that was burning inside me. I was too scared, too confused, too unsure of what the answer might be. Months later, I had my first adult dream about Tate. It was vivid, intense, and unlike anything I had ever experienced before. I dreamt of us together in a way that I had never imagined, never even considered. I woke up the next morning, my heart racing, my body aching, my mind filled with thoughts I couldn't quite grasp, feelings I couldn't quite understand. But I didn't tell Tate, didn't tell anyone. I was too embarrassed, too confused, too scared of what it might mean. And so I kept it to myself, kept it locked away deep down inside. Boys, Talia Blue's voice carries up the stairs like a gavel strike, clear, warm, and absolutely unstoppable. Up, breakfast is almost ready. I jerk awake instantly. For half a second I have no idea where I am, just warmth, sheets, the solid weight of another body underlying. Then reality crashes in all at once and I realize with horror that I'm basically on top of Tate, not spooned, not neatly tucked in. On top, my face is pressed into his shoulder, one leg thrown over his thigh, his arm wrapped around my back like I'm a pillow he refused to let go of in his sleep. Oh my God, oh my God. I freeze, heart pounding so hard I'm sure Tate can feel it. I'm 17 years old, deeply closeted, and currently draped over my very straight buddy like I forgot how gravity works. Tate, his mom calls again, closer now. Noah, you hear me? I'm awake, Tate mumbles beneath me, voice thick with sleep. He shifts slightly, and his hand tightens at my side before going slack again. That's it, that's my breaking point. I scramble off him so fast I nearly fall off the bed, landing awkwardly on my feet and immediately feeling my face catch fire. I can't look at him. I absolutely cannot look at him. Sorry, I gesture vaguely at the bed, at everything. I didn't mean to. I move around when I sleep. Tate squints at me, pushing himself up on his elbows. His black hair is sticking up in about 6 different directions, his expression more confused than anything else. Noah, he says, yawning, relax, you always do that. Noah's heart pounded in his chest as he realized his predicament, his body tensing as he pulled away from Tate, his face flushing with embarrassment. He hid his face, his eyes darting around the room, anywhere but at Tate. Tate, I'm sorry, Noah stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. I didn't mean to do that, I didn't mean to touch you like that. Tate's response was a low, warm chuckle, a sound that made Noah's heart skip a beat. Don't be embarrassed, Noah, he said, his voice soft, reassuring. It's not a big deal, it happens all the time. I've woken up with your foot in my face, your head in my armpit, your hand on my hip. It's just what happens when you share a bed with someone. Noah's eyes widened in surprise, his heart swelling with warmth at Tate's words. He peeked at Tate from behind his hands, his eyes meeting Tate's, a small smile playing on his lips. Really? He asked, his voice soft, hopeful. Tate's smile was soft, tender, his eyes filled with warmth. Really, he said, his voice firm, it's not a big deal, Noah, it's just life, our life together. Noah's heart swelled with happiness, his smile widening, his hands dropping to his sides. I like that, he said, his voice soft. I like that a lot. Tate's smile was slow, satisfied, his eyes sparkling with mischief. I'm glad you do, Noah, because I plan on doing a lot more of it. A lot more of waking up with you, a lot more of sharing a bed with you, a lot more of everything. Noah's heart pounded in his chest, his body tingling with anticipation, with desire. I like the sound of that, he said, his voice soft, breathless. Tate's smile was slow, predatory, his eyes filled with a primal hunger. I thought you might, he said, his voice low, dangerous. And I plan on making sure you like it, a lot. And with that, he turned and walked towards the closet, leaving Noah to stare after him, his heart pounding, his body aching with desire, his mind racing with thoughts of what was to come. Always, that word lands like a punch. Oh, I say weakly, right, yeah, I'll get dressed. I grab my clothes off the chair so fast I almost knock it over and make a beeline for the bathroom without waiting for a response. The door clicks shut behind me and I lean against it, heart racing. Get it together, Noah. Normal people do not react like that. I change as quickly as I can, tugging on a hoodie like it might hide the way my hands are still shaking. When I look in the mirror, my face is red, my eyes a little too wide. Guilty, obvious. By the time I make it downstairs, Talia is at the stove, hair pulled back, already in work mode even though it's barely morning. She smiles when she sees me. "Morning, Noah," she says warmly. "Sleep okay?" "Yes," I say too fast, then I clear my throat. "I mean, yeah, thanks for letting me stay over." She waves a hand like that's the silliest thing I could have said. "You know you're always welcome here." Tate shuffles in behind me, stretching, completely at ease, no embarrassment, no second thoughts. He drops into a chair as if nothing unusual had happened at all. I sit across from him and keep my eyes on my plate, because if I look at him, if I really look at him, I'll remember how easy it felt to wake up wrapped around him. I can feel his eyes on me. I always know when Tate looks at me. It's not dramatic or obvious, no starring, no announcement, but something quiet and certain, like a shift in the air. I'll be looking down, tying my shoes or staring at nothing, and I just know. When I look up, he's already there, watching me like he's taking inventory, like he's making sure I'm still real, still his constant. That look is what people noticed and never understood. It wasn't desire, it wasn't hunger, it was a focus. As if the world narrowed when I entered a room and everything else faded into background noise. Parents found it unsettling, teachers avoided it, and kids mocked it because it didn't fit anything they recognized. Boys weren't supposed to look at each other that way, not with that kind of attention, not with that kind of certainty. Tate plays footsie with me under the table, nudging my shoe with his until I can't help but smile. He does it on purpose, just enough pressure, just enough persistence to pull my attention back to him. He enjoys annoying me, enjoys knowing he can get a reaction with the smallest touch. We do it at school all the time, this quiet, stupid game no one's supposed to notice. Shoes touching, ankles brushing, a whole conversation happening where no one else can hear it. I wear his shoes constantly. When we were younger, Tate wouldn't let me use his clothing or try on his shoes, but after Tate was 15 he started allowing me to wear his clothing, probably because he saw how little my mother could afford clothes. They're usually too big, scuffed, warm from him, and he never once tells me to take them off. Sometimes we switch without even talking about it, one of each other's pairs, mismatched on purpose. I wear his clothes, his belts too. Sweatshirts that smell like him, shirts that hang loose and heavy on me, pieces of him I carry with me every day. Tate has no clue how romantic it feels, how it burns quietly in someone who loves another to wear their things, to move through the world wrapped in them. Jen, a girl from our class, noticed once. She'd liked Tate the month before and was sitting across from us when she saw what was happening under the table. Her eyes narrowed, flicking down and back up like she'd caught something she wasn't meant to see. Later, I heard she'd told people we were weird, that something was off about us. Tate just laughed when I told him. "They're jealous," he said easily. "They hate being left out." And maybe that was true, because what we had wasn't loud or performative or meant for anyone else. It was quiet touches, shared shoes and clothes, knowing smiles, and the certainty that even in a crowded room we were still alone together. People could call it weird all they wanted. Tate didn't care. He never did. Even when the world stared, whispered, or mocked, these small things, the footsie, the shared clothing, the brushes of hands, kept me tethered to him. And I loved every second of it, even knowing he would never understand how much those tiny gestures meant to someone who loved him completely. I wondered if he even realized he did it. If he knew that no matter where we were, classrooms, hallways, crowded rooms, I could feel him tracking me, grounding himself by keeping me in sight. When I met his eyes, he never looked away. He just nodded, barely there, like a silent "I've got you." And maybe that's why I always felt safe, even when everything else was chaos, even when people stared, whispered, and judged. Even when I didn't understand him, or us, or why he chose me over everyone and everything else. I didn't need answers in those moments. I just needed to feel his eyes on me, to know that whatever the world thought we were, Tate knew exactly who I was, and how hard it was to pull myself away. I make it to the table just as Talia turns from the stove with a plate in her hands. She smiles when she sees me, real smile, the kind that reaches her eyes, and before I can even say good morning, she leans down and presses a quick kiss to the top of my head. "There he is," she says. "Morning, sweetheart." My chest tightens in that familiar, uncomfortable way it always does when she does that. Not bad, just a lot. Talia Blue has always treated me like I belong here, like I'm not just the kid from the trailer park who never goes home on weekends. "Morning," I mumble, suddenly very interested in the edge of the table. She sets a plate in front of me like she's done it 1,000 times, which honestly she probably has. Eggs, toast, and fruit are cut neatly instead of dumped out of a plastic container. The blue kitchen smells like coffee and money and calm. Tate drops into the chair beside me, yawning and stretching like he didn't wake up 10 minutes ago with me basically using him as a mattress. He chooses the container of lemon juice kept on the table for him and pours it all over his pancakes, eggs, and toast. I never understood why he did that. The taste almost makes me puke. "Noah," he says around a mouthful of toast, "you know tomorrow's your birthday, right?" I choke a little. "Yeah, I know." 18, he continues, energized now. "That's huge, you're officially old." "You're literally the same age," I mutter. "Details," he says, waving it off. "Mom, can we do something like dinner or something? Noah can stay over." Talia glances between us, amused. "He practically lives here already." Tate grins. "See, even Mom agrees." I force a smile and focus on my plate. He's so normal about everything. About me, about us. Like waking up tangled together is just another detail, no more notable than what movie we fell asleep to. The Blues house is quiet in that expensive way. Hardwood floors that don't creak. Furniture that looks like it belongs in a magazine instead of surviving 3 moves and a busted radiator. Family photos in heavy frames, generations of dark-haired Blues in suits and dresses. All looking like they knew exactly where they belonged in the world. Old money, the kind you don't talk about because you don't have to. Tate is an only child. So am I. That's always been one of the things people point out, like it explains why we gravitated toward each other so hard. 2 boys with no siblings filling the space with each other. The difference is when Tate says my house, he means this, our house, his and mine. Lawyers and trust funds and summers that don't involve counting gas money. When I say it, I mean a double-wide with thin walls and a porch that's always one bad step away from collapse. White trailer trash, people like to call me that when they think I can't hear. They're not wrong, just loud about it. Talia pours coffee and asks Tate about his plans for the day. He talks with his hands, confident and easy, already halfway into the future. I listen and nod and exist quietly beside him, trying not to think about how natural it feels to sit at this table, trying not to think about how temporary it all is. Tate bumps my knee under the table. "You okay, birthday boy?" "Yeah," I say automatically. He smiles at me wide, familiar, unguarded, and my confidence does that thing where it just disappears, like I'm 14 again instead of 18, like I don't know where to put my hands or my eyes or the truth. "Cool," he says, "we'll figure out something fun." I nod because that's what I do. "I have somewhere I need to be after breakfast tomorrow," Tate explained. "I'll spend the day wrapping a few gifts for you." Talia watches us for a moment, soft and knowing in a way that makes me look down again. She doesn't know why this hurts, just that it does. I eat my breakfast in a house that feels like home in all the ways that matter, and all the ways that remind me it isn't really mine. After breakfast, Tate decides biking is faster than thinking. "Hop on," he says, already straddling his bike like the conclusion has been reached. I climb onto the pegs behind him, hands finding the familiar grip on the back of his jacket. The fabric is worn soft where my fingers always land. He pushes off and the street opens up in front of us, quiet and pale with morning light. Riding behind Tate has always felt like this, wind in my face, his back solid and steady, me trusting him to avoid potholes and parked cars and anything else that might knock us sideways. When we hit a crack in the road, I lean in without thinking. He adjusts his balance automatically. Neither of us says a word, we don't have to. The library sits at the end of Main Street like it's been there forever, all brown brick and narrow windows. Built sometime in the 50s, back when people thought carpeted floors and retro railings were the future. The doors wheeze open and we step into a place that smells like dust, paper, and old glue. Inside, everything is muted. Brown carpet, wood-paneled walls, fluorescent lights that hum softly overhead. The kind of quiet that feels institutional, like it's been enforced for decades. Tate drops his backpack onto a long laminate table and starts pulling out his paper, muttering about citations and conclusions. I sit across from him, flipping through my notebook more out of habit than purpose. Then Tate freezes. "Oh wow," he says, "I want to fuck that." I don't look right away, I already know. But then I do. A new hot girl. She's by the card catalog, an actual one, drawers and all, blonde hair catching the light, white-skinned, and she's our age. She looks like she wandered in from a different decade entirely, all clean lines and easy confidence. Pretty in a way that feels effortless, like she's never had to wonder if people would notice her. "Gross," I muttered. Tate lets out a low laugh. "Okay, that's unfair." My stomach drops. He smooths a hand over his black hair and straightens his shoulders like he's about to walk into a job interview instead of a library aisle. Be right back, he says, for academic reasons. Obviously, I say flatly. He grins and heads over, confidence rolling off him like it always does. He flirts while saying something to her. She looks up, smiles. Of course she does. I stay at the table, hands folded around a pen I'm not using, watching the way Tate leans in just slightly like he knows exactly how close to stand. She laughs, fingers brushing the edge of a card drawer, body angling toward him like it's natural. Jealousy hits me sharp and sudden, settling in my chest like it's always been waiting there. This is what straight looks like. Easy, allowed, uncomplicated. I glance down at Tate's paper, the words blurring together, term paper, due dates, futures that line up neatly. I imagine what it must feel like to want someone and simply go talk to them, no second guessing, no quiet inventory of risk. Tate glances back at me once, quick and casual like he's checking the time. I nod, because that's what I do. He turns back to her smiling and I sit there in a 1950s library that smells like old books and inevitability, pretending to study while something familiar and aching tightness in my chest. Waiting for him to come back and act like this was just another normal moment in a life that keeps moving forward without me. Tate doesn't come back right away. At first, I tell myself he will, any second now. He'll laugh awkwardly, say something about getting distracted, drop back into the chair across from me like gravity pulled him there. I keep my eyes on the table, on the margin notes of his paper, on anything that lets me pretend this is temporary. Then I hear him laugh again, not close, farther in, deeper into the library. I look up. He's walking beside her now, not just standing. Their shoulders almost touch as they head between the stacks, disappearing aisle by aisle. He's talking with his hands animated like he does when he's excited and forgets to be cool. She's listening, really listening, head tilted, smile soft, eyes locked on him. That's when it hits me. He's not smitten, it's merely lust, not casually interested. He's just flirting for sport. This is the version of Tate that files someone away as important without even realizing he's done it. Tate doesn't fall in love, he fucks girls. I have never seen Tate in love with anyone during the 13 years I've known him, but Tate usually lusts after a new girl every week before moving on to the next piece of girl tale before Monday. My chest feels like it's going to cave in from jealousy. I sit there for another minute, then another, staring at the empty chair across from me like it might fill itself back in. The library feels too big all of a sudden, too quiet, like I noticed I'd been left behind. Eventually, I pack up my stuff and leave the building. Outside, the air is cooler, the sunlight harsher. I sit on the concrete steps by the bike rack and wait, elbows on my knees, staring at nothing in particular. I tell myself I'm just being patient. Those buddies wait for buddies. Time stretches. The doors finally open and Tate comes out alone, black hair a mess, grin still lingering on his face like it hasn't gotten the memo yet. There you are, he says like I'm the one who wandered off. Sorry man, lost track of time, she's a good kisser. The words hit me like a punch, my chest tightened. Yeah, I say, my voice sounds far away, I figured. He swings his backpack onto one shoulder, bouncing on his heels, energy crackling off him. So, don't be weird about this. My stomach drops further, impressive really given how low it already is. I asked her to your party, he says, Emily, and she said yes, I'm going to fuck her tomorrow on your birthday. There it is, a hookup, a real one, planned and spoken and existing outside my head. I cleared my throat, that's great. And the worst part is that some small, traitorous part of me means it. Tate beams, right, she's into old films, which is kind of awesome. He keeps talking, filling the space with details, with possibility. I nod at the right moments. I smile when he looks at me. I play my part perfectly. Inside, something folds in on itself and stays there. When he finally unlocks his bike and glances over, he hesitates. You good? I meet his eyes. For half a second I think I might break, say something reckless, say something true. Instead I shrug. Yeah, I'm good. He relaxes, immediately satisfied. Cool, let's head back. Tate unlocked his bike by the library while enjoying the cool morning air. Tate adjusted the stack of books under one arm before wheeling his bicycle toward the sidewalk. I think these should help, he mumbled, glancing down at the titles. I've got to write a book report for history class about the parallels between the medieval Habsburg royal family and modern familial racial eugenics. I really need an A+ on this one. I looked at the books, then back at him. I don't even know what eugenics is. I admitted, and I don't want to know. Tate let out a quiet huff that might have been a laugh. It's not exactly a happy topic, he said, but it's what the assignment is about. Hitler believed in racial eugenics and it's an interesting topic. Well, I replied, climbing onto the back of his bicycle, I'm glad you're the one writing the report. Tate shook his head with a faint smile, pushed off the curb, and we pedaled away from the library. I climb onto the pegs behind him like I always do, hands gripping his jacket as he pushes off. The road stretches out in front of us, familiar and unmoving. This time, when we hit a bump, I don't lean in. I just hold on and let the distance grow, quiet and inevitable, between where I am and where Tate is already headed without me. Tate was a really early bloomer. That's how everyone explained it when we were kids, why he didn't stay all elbows and knees while everyone else shot didn't mature yet, why his voice cracked in junior high. Puberty hit him at 12 like it was making up for lost time, and suddenly he was tall and broad and confident in a way that felt effortless, like he hadn't earned it so much as stepped into it. I noticed everything. What I didn't notice, what I never noticed, not once in the 13 years I've lived and slept next to him, is whether Tate has ever shown interest in anyone but girls. Not in the way people talk about noticing them, not in the way Tate does, easy, open, and loud. I waited for it, honestly. I assumed it would show up eventually, as everyone promised. It didn't. What did show up 4 years ago now was this quiet, terrifying realization that I liked guys. Not abstractly, not theoretically, specifically, sharply, painfully close to home. I didn't tell Tate. I've never told Tate. I don't even let myself imagine telling Tate because I know exactly what would happen. Our relationship isn't fragile in obvious ways. It's sturdy, well-worn, built on years of habit and trust. But it's also delicate in the way spider silk is delicate. Strong until it's touched in the wrong place. If Tate knew I got hot around him, if he knew that my body reacted to him in ways I don't ask for and don't want, everything would snap. Not because he'd be cruel, that's the worst part. He'd be careful, apologetic. He'd pull back just enough to make sure I was okay, and that distance would be permanent. So I keep quiet, I keep my eyes where they belong. I keep my feelings folded so tightly inside myself they barely resemble feelings at all. I let him talk about girls, I let him date. I let him grow forward into a future that makes sense for him. I stay where I am, because wanting Tate isn't just about desire, it's about risk. And I already know which one of us would lose everything if the truth ever slipped out. So I don't tell him, I just love him quietly, carefully while hopping the web holds. We stop for milkshakes on the way back because that's what we always do. After all, Tate is riding high on New Crush energy and sugar feels like a celebration. We used to eat ice cream, but Tate hates it now, so we moved on to milkshakes. Vanilla, I say automatically when we order. I always get vanilla. Safe, predictable, something that doesn't ask questions. Tate is more adventurous. He loves Devil's chocolate with crushed peanuts on top. We sit in a booth by the window, the vinyl cracked with age, sunlight cutting across the table. Tate talks the whole time about Emily, about how she laughed, about how she likes old movies and didn't make fun of him for rambling about his book report. His hands move when he talks, animated and alive. Tate slathers his milkshake with cinnamon flecks, which I thought looked good. I asked to try it, but he refused. I drink too fast. Tate adds lemon-flavored drops to his milkshake and stirs the liquid. He doesn't know I know about his eating disorder or his OCD. Tate has always loved lemon on everything, it's a habit of his. I know I'm aroused by him. I can feel it even as I feel it, the cold flooding my stomach, the sweetness turning heavy and wrong. But I keep going anyway, as if I finish it quickly, the feeling in my chest will go with it. It doesn't. Halfway through Tate's sentence, my stomach lurches hard enough that I gasp. You good? He asks, pausing mid-story. Yeah, I lie, already sliding out of the booth. Bathroom, be right back. I don't make it with dignity. I lock myself into one of the empty stalls and bend forward, hands braced on my knees as my body decides it's had enough. It's quick and awful and humiliating, my throat burning, my eyes watering. Vanilla tastes nothing like vanilla on the way back up. When it's over, I rest my forehead against the cool metal divider and breathe. I want to cry, I want to punch something. I want to scream about how unfair it is that Tate can want someone openly and I have to want quietly, that the world bends toward him without effort and tells me to fold myself smaller just to survive. I want to rage against how straight everything feels, how inevitable, how structured, how already decided. But even in the stall, even shaking and miserable, I know it's useless. The world isn't listening. I rinse my mouth at the sink, splash water on my face, stare at myself in the mirror until my eyes stop looking so wrecked. I practice neutral. I practice fine. When I get back to the table, Tate's halfway out of the booth already. "Noe, you look like hell," he says, concerned. "You okay?" "Drank too fast," I say, shrugging, the truth but not the truth. He frowns, then reaches out without thinking, pressing the back of his hand to my forehead like he's checking for a fever. Casual, familiar, devastating. "Next time pace yourself," he says gently. "Next time." I nod, because nodding is easier than explaining that this sickness isn't about milkshakes, that it's about sitting across from him while he talks about a girl he likes, that it's about loving someone who will never love me back in the way that matters. Tate smiles, relieved, and launches back into his story as if nothing had happened. I sit there, stomach empty, chest full, listening to the boy I love talk about a future that doesn't include me, realizing again that no amount of anger will change the shape of the world we're living in. "Wanna try my flavor?" he joked. I choked on my straw. I tasted a bit, and boy was it strong. The lemon was so overpowering it felt like acid, too strong and potent. "I can't taste my tongue or anything. How do you stomach that?" I asked Tate while my tongue was on fire. "I've tasted worse things in my mouth," Tate sighs. "So I swallow it down, like I always do." The bike ride home is quiet in the way that hurts. Not silent. Tate fills the air easily, but quiet for me. He talks about Emily the whole way, voice carried back over his shoulder, words snatched by the wind and dropped straight into my chest. How she laughed. How she bumped his arm when she walked. She said she liked his taste in music. I sit on the pegs behind him, hands gripping his jacket, forehead tipped down so he can't see my face. Every bump in the road jolts the same thought through me. It must be nice, to want, to say it out loud, to have the world nod back like, yes, of course, that makes sense. When we get back to his place, we don't talk about it for a while. We never do, not directly. We go to the basement like we always have, muscle memory carrying us past the framed degrees on the wall, his mom's Paris Culinary School diploma, his dad's Princeton Business Awards, past the shelves of records and expensive-looking equipment that's always just been there. We play music instead. Tate sits at the drums, loose and loud, sticks flying like he's working something out of his system. I grab his Tate's red guitar off the stand. It's heavy in a good way, solid and cared for, worth more than everything in my house put together. I'm good at it, that's the thing, I always have been. My fingers know where to go without thinking, bending notes, filling the space between Tate's beats. For a while, it works. The music drowns out everything else: Emily, jealousy, the ache of wanting something I can't afford emotionally or otherwise. When we stop, Tate grins at me, sweaty and bright. "You ever thought about going to school for that?" I shrug, setting the guitar back carefully. "Sometimes." He nods like it's settled. Of course, that's an option. It must be nice to grow up assuming there's always a next step. I don't bring Tate to my mom's trailer. Not really. Not unless I absolutely have to. He's been there a handful of times over the years, but I always find reasons not to repeat it. The trailer sits outside town, patched and sagging, surrounded by nothing but scrub and dust, and the sense that time stopped caring about us a long time ago. My dad died when I was 3, 1971, that's a fact. I carry a photo of him like an ID card, something people glance at and immediately soften their voices. I don't remember him, I remember the absence. The way my mom changed shape around the loss. She drinks to cope, that's the polite way to say it. The real way is that the bottles pile up faster than the bills get paid, and the trailer is all we own because it's all that's left. No safety net, no old money, no framed degrees on the wall. That's why Tate's house feels like home. Why do I spend most of my days there without anyone questioning it? Why does Talia kiss my head, feed me, and pretend not to notice how often I stay? In less than 3 weeks, school will be out. Graduation is around the corner, looming and unavoidable. Everyone keeps asking what I'm doing next, where I'm going, as the answer should already exist. I don't know, maybe community college, probably nowhere, maybe straight into whatever job will take me. The future feels like a hallway with flickering lights and no signs. Tate doesn't worry about that. He talks about summer, about plans, about Emily again, casually folding her into the shape of what comes next. I listen, I nod, I smile when I'm supposed to. And all the while, I feel the gap widening, between where he's headed and where I'm standing, guitar calluses on my fingers, love in my chest, and no clear idea how to carry either of them forward without losing him completely. He has a way to bring me back to him, he's hard to resist, and I can't seem to move beyond Tate. I wanted him and not just as a buddy. It sucked that boys can't be together in the same way straight girls and guys take for granted. Tate loves to wrestle, not just likes it, lives for it. The discipline, the sweat, the way his whole body seems to make sense when it's working toward a goal. He practices in the garage most afternoons, the door rolled halfway up, sunlight stripping the concrete floor. A mat is taped together in the center, edges curling, scuffed from years of use. "Come on," he says, already bouncing on the balls of his feet. "I need a body, you're it." I'm always there. I kick off my shoes and step onto the mat, telling myself again that this is normal. Buddies roughhouse. Buddies help each other train. Buddies don't read into things. Tate takes me down easily. He always does. He's stronger, more confident in his body, trained to use leverage instead of hesitation. Within seconds, I'm flat on my back, his knee braced near my side, his weight pinning me in place. "Don't give up so easily," he instructs, focused, breath barely winded. "You're handing it to me." "Yeah," I mutter, because I want to lose. He laughs, bright and careless. "You love losing." Joey walks by the basement, staring at the two boys wrestling while he shakes his head, grabbing a few bottles of wine before heading back upstairs to the kitchen. Tate adjusts tighter now, practicing the hold like I'm a stand-in for someone who actually matters. His forearm presses across my chest, not painful, just firm, and I stare up at the garage ceiling, counting the cracks in the drywall, willing my face to stay neutral. This is the worst part, not the contact, the closeness. It's how easy it is for him, how thoughtless. "Coach says if I keep improving, I've got a real shot," Tate says, proud. "Maybe even Ivy League." I swallow. "Yeah. Yeah," he says, grinning down at me. "Can you imagine? East Coast, big campus, actual seasons." He shifts off me and offers a hand, hauling me up like I weigh nothing. He keeps talking, packing now, energy spilling everywhere. "And you know," he adds casually, "a girlfriend who's actually around, not long distance. Someone hot, someone who's into me. I need a girl who looks good on my arm and doesn't want love, commitment, or desire marriage shit. Hot, available, easy, all things I will never be." I nod because nodding is what I do. I sit against the wall, knees drawn up, watching him shadow wrestle an invisible opponent, his future unfolding with every confident movement. Scholarship, Ivy League, a girl on his arm who wants him the way he wants her. I'm not in that picture, I'm just the mat, the practice body, the bed warmer who lets himself be pinned so Tate can learn how to win. And I let him over and over, because if this is the closest I get to him, I'll take it. Even if every time he presses me to the floor it reminds me exactly where I stand in his life. Under him, temporary, replaceable. I dust off my hands when we're done and smile as if nothing hurts, while Tate talks about colleges and girlfriends and goals that stretch far beyond this garage and far beyond me. There was no chance in hell I was going to college where Tate was, or anywhere near Princeton, really. My mom had no money, no savings tucked away, no quiet account meant for emergencies or futures, just a series of almost and late notices and the steady hum of disappointment she tried to drown out with whatever was cheapest and strongest. Scholarships weren't lining up for me. I wasn't a standout athlete. I wasn't even a real athlete. Wrestling mats and trophies belonged in Tate's world, not mine. In my extracurriculars, a joke, a list that read as if I'd done just enough to survive high school without actually belonging to it. The only thing I had, the only thing was music. The red guitar, the hours alone teaching myself how to make something beautiful out of cheap strings and borrowed amps. If I somehow managed to scrape together a scholarship or a grant because of that, it would be a Hail Mary. Blind faith, one-shot launch from the edge of nowhere, hoping something divine was paying attention. I didn't tell Tate any of this. He talked about campuses with ivy-covered walls and names that sounded like they'd been carved into stone centuries ago. He talked about Princeton wrestling programs, dorms, and girls who'd visit on weekends. He talked like the future was already shaking his hand. Mine felt like it was standing across the room, arms crossed and unimpressed. I lay awake at night thinking about it, about how leaving might be the only way I survived this and how staying was the only way I got to keep Tate in my life a little longer. Both choices hurt. One just hurts quieter. If I disappeared after graduation, maybe it would make sense. Maybe distance would soften the truth I never planned to tell him. Maybe loving him would finally stop feeling like a slow, private punishment. Or maybe I'd just end up back in the trailer, guitar on my lap, listening to the echo of a life I almost had, watching Tate Blue move on without ever knowing how close I came to breaking myself just to stand beside him. Tate hates it when I get like this. I can tell the moment my voice shifts, when it gets flat, when the words come out heavier than they need to be. He notices, he always notices, he just doesn't understand why. "No," he says, frowning at me as if I've personally offended him. you're doing the thing again. The thing, I ask. The doom and gloom, end of the world thing, he says, waving a hand. You talk about school like it's already over for you, it's not. I shrug, picking at a loose thread on my sleeve. Feels like it is. He sighs, the sound exaggerated, then straightens like he's made a decision. I know this move. Tate Blue does not sit with discomfort if he can reroute it. Okay, he says brightly, new topic. I look up, you're bad at transitions. Shut up, he says grinning, your birthday. My stomach tightens. My birthday, I repeat. Your 18th birthday, he corrects like that changes everything, which is kind of a big deal in case you forgot. I didn't forget. Good, he says, because you only turn 18 once, it's a one-in-a-lifetime event. I snort softly, you say that like it's supposed to be magical. It is, he insists. It's officially your induction into adulthood, no more kid stuff, you can vote, you can, he pauses thinking, do adult things. I don't ask what kind of adult things Tate is referring to, I don't want to know, he keeps going anyway. We should do something special, like actually do something, not just a cake and awkward singing. The word lands harder than it should. Yeah, I say carefully. Yeah, he says confident, I'll plan it, you don't get a say. That sounds illegal. Too bad, I've known you for 13 years, I know what you like. I almost laugh, there's so much he doesn't know, but the way he talks about my birthday like it matters loosens something in my chest. If Tate knew me, he'd know the wish I've wished for since my 9th birthday. I wanted Tate to kiss me and love me as I needed to be loved. I desired a night of life with Tate that turned into a future where we both saw each other as partners. 18. A line in the sand, an ending and a beginning stacked together. Time moves whether I'm ready or not. Fine, I say quietly, surprise me. He grins like he's just won something. Oh, I will. And for just a moment, I let myself imagine that maybe this once-in-a-lifetime thing could be good, that maybe my 18th birthday won't just mark how close I am to leaving or how far I already am from the life Tate is headed toward. Maybe it'll just be one day when I get to be his best friend without thinking about everything that comes after. I don't tell him that. I just sit there, listening to him plan, pretending that the future isn't tapping its foot impatiently behind us, waiting for the moment when birthdays stop being enough to hold everything together. Tate grins like he's just solved a problem that's been bothering him all day. Okay, he says, leaning back on his hands, so your birthday. I narrow my eyes, you already said I don't get a vote. Correct, but I do get ideas. He pauses, clearly enjoying himself. First of all, we're not letting you turn 18 without getting laid. I choke, Jesus, Tate. What, he says, genuinely confused, it's a milestone. For whom? For everyone, he insists. You're not going to be the only guy at this party who turns 18 and just does nothing. I open my mouth to argue, then close it again. There are about 100 things I could say, none of which I'm allowed to. And he adds, lowering his voice like he's letting me in on a secret, I can probably get beer. I stare at him, you say that like it's no big deal. It's 1986, he says with a shrug. No one cares, and I'm not letting you skimp on your special day. My special day, the words land strangely like they don't quite belong to me. You're thinking too much again, he says, pointing at me. Don't, that's an order. I can't just. Nope, he cuts me off. You are officially banned from worrying about your birthday. Tomorrow's going to be unforgettable, trust me. Trust me. I look at him, at the easy certainty in his face, the way he assumes good things happen because they usually do for him, and I nod. Okay, I say, okay. He smiles, satisfied. Good, come by my house tomorrow night, 7 sharp. Why 7? Because, he says, standing up, that's when you get your gifts. My heart stutters, a mix of stupid, hopeful, and dangerous. All right, I say carefully, 7 p.m. He claps me on the shoulder, already halfway turned away. Don't be late, birthday boy. I watch him head back inside, full of plans and confidence and a future that keeps opening doors for him. I promise myself I won't read into it. I promise myself I won't hope for more than this. 7 p.m., one night, one gift. I tell myself that's all it is. while somewhere deep down, a quiet, reckless part of me wonders if tomorrow is the day everything finally changes. He stops me at the bottom of the stairs like it's an afterthought. "Oh, one more thing," Tate says. I turn back. "Yeah. You're spending the night," he says easily, like this is obvious. "And you've got to be out of the house by 9 tomorrow morning, no excuses." I blink. "Why 9? He smirks. "Because if you're still around, you'll ruin the surprise." That word again, surprise. "I can do 9, I say, I promise." "Good," he points at me. "It's your birthday rules, don't break them." Dinner passes in a blur, Talia asking polite questions, Tate answering for both of us, his dad nodding along from behind the newspaper. I eat more than I usually do, laugh when I'm supposed to, keep myself anchored in the moment because something about tonight feels fragile, like glass. Like if I move wrong, it'll shatter. Upstairs, everything is the same as it's always been. Same posters, same shelves, same twin bed pushed against the wall, narrow and familiar and somehow safer than anywhere else in the world. I kick off my shoes and take my place without being told. Tate clicks off the light a minute later and climbs in behind me, mattress dipping with his weight. I feel him settle, warm and solid, an arm draping over my waist as it belongs there. It always does. He pulls me closer, my back fitting to his chest like we were designed this way. His chin brushes my shoulder, breath warm against my neck. My whole body goes still, not because I want to move away, but because I don't trust myself to move at all. "Good night, birthday boy," he murmurs while kissing my temple. Then, softer, closer, so close it feels like a secret meant only for me. "Good night, sweet party dreams." My throat tightens. "Night, Tate," I manage. His grip firms just a little, protective and absent-minded, like he's already half asleep. I can hear his breathing slow, feel the steady rise and fall of his chest against my back. I close my eyes. For once I don't think about tomorrow, or college, or money, or girls named Emily. I don't think about spiderwebs or futures or how much this could hurt if it ever breaks. I just let myself exist right here, wrapped around the love of my life, held like this is normal, like this is allowed, as this moment might last forever. And as sleep pulls me under, I hold on to one quiet, dangerous thought. If this is all I ever get of him, tonight might be enough. I woke up as something snapped inside me. The room is dark, quiet in that heavy, middle-of-the-night way, and for half a second I don't know why my chest feels tight. Then my hand shifts and meets cold sheets. Tate's side of the bed is empty. I sit up too fast, heart already racing, staring at the space where he should be. The mattress there is flat, untouched. Whatever warmth he left behind is long gone. Bathroom, I tell myself, don't be dramatic. I slip out of bed and crack the door open, peering down the hallway. His bathroom door is open, light off, empty. The house is silent except for the distant hum of the refrigerator downstairs. I pull on my bathrobe, tying it clumsily, and step into the hall. Each floorboard feels louder than it should as I make my way down the stairs, barefoot, careful, like I don't belong in my own body. There's a light on in the kitchen. I stop halfway down. Tate's voice drifts up, low and warm, nothing like the sleepy murmur he had pressed into my ear hours ago. He's talking softly, deliberately, like every word matters. I move the rest of the way down, staying just out of sight, my hand gripping the banister. He's leaning against the counter, phone tucked between his shoulder and his ear. His hair is mussed from sleep. He's wearing an old t-shirt and pajama pants. He looks different, awake in a way I don't usually see. Then he smiles, not his usual grin, not the careless, joking one. This smile is slow, private. It belongs to whoever's on the other end of the line. My stomach drops. "Yeah," he says quietly, "tomorrow night it's his birthday." A pause, a soft laugh. "No, you won't be crashing it. I want you there. I invited you when we met earlier today at the library, so you have to come." I press myself farther into the shadows, my pulse roaring in my ears. "You'll like everyone," he continues. "And yeah, I'll be there the whole time." Another pause, his smile widens, almost shy. "Okay, yeah, good night." "I already know." "Good night, Emily." "Emily." The word hits me like glass shattering inside my chest. I return to my bed upstairs in Tate's room before he finds me waiting in the hallway by the stairs. I silently cry myself to sleep and try not to let this ruin my special day. I'm not successful. I wake up on my birthday with dread already sitting heavy in my chest. If I had known my 18th birthday would be the day that changed everything, the day that would shape every decision I made afterward, I would have stayed in bed. I would have turned over, pulled the covers over my head, and hidden from the world. I would have ignored the sunlight creeping through the curtains, ignored the quiet hum of the house waking up, and ignored the expectation that this day was supposed to mean something good. Because if I had known what was waiting for me, what it would take, what it would leave behind, I would have done anything to avoid it. Anything at all. For one hazy second, I forget why, then the name hits me like a bruise I forgot to protect. Emily. The house is awake before I am. Steam curls under the bathroom door and I can hear Tate singing by the bathroom sink, off-key, confident, completely unbothered. It's the same stupid song he always sings when he's in a good mood, which tells me everything I need to know. I sit up slowly. His clothes are scattered across the floor where he kicked them off last night, jeans, socks, his t-shirt half inside out. I shouldn't touch them, I know that. The rule is unspoken but firm. I break it anyway. I pick up his shirt before I can talk myself out of it, fingers curling into the soft cotton. It smells like him, soap, laundry detergent, something warm and familiar that makes my throat tighten. I breathe it in once, quick and desperate. Like stealing oxygen. Pathetic, I think again. I set it back down like it burned me and turned toward his open closet, trying to distract myself. That's when I see it. The green scarf. It's hanging neatly on a wooden hanger, folded just right. It must be his favorite one. It's new because I hadn't seen him wear it yet, but I had to touch it. I remember being terrified he'd hate it. I remember how he'd grinned and wrapped it around his neck immediately like it was obvious it belonged there. I don't know what possesses me. There's no plan, no logic, just a sudden, fierce need to keep something before Emily, before college, before everything shifts out of reach. I cross the room in 2 steps, take the scarf and shove it into my knapsack like I'm hiding evidence. My heart pounds so loud I'm sure he'll hear it over the water. The sink shuts off. I barely make it back to the bed before Tate comes out, towel around his waist, hair dripping, completely at ease in his own skin. He doesn't notice anything missing. Of course, he doesn't. "Morning, birthday boy," he says, smiling like this is just another perfect day. "Mom's got breakfast ready." "Okay," I say, my voice steady by some miracle. He tosses on a fresh shirt and starts rooting through his drawers, and I sit there pretending nothing just happened, pretending my bag doesn't hold a stolen piece of him, pretending today isn't already splintering into before and after. I follow him downstairs a minute later, scarf hidden, heart racing, carrying a secret that feels both comforting and unforgivable. 18. And already, I've learned how much it hurts to want something you were never meant to keep. Talia made my favorite breakfast. Chocolate waffles and chicken, real ones, not the boxed kind, not stretched or substituted. The smell alone feels like a luxury, sweet and rich and warm, filling the kitchen in a way my mom's never been able to manage no matter how hard she tried. Food like this costs money, time, care. My mom never asked where I spent the night on weekends. As long as I showed up to school on Monday and no one called about truancy, she didn't care. Sometimes I think she was relieved I wasn't there to remind her of everything she'd lost. Sometimes I think she just didn't have the energy. Here, no one forgets I exist. "Birthday boy's up," Talia says brightly when she sees me, already setting plates on the table. Terrence looks up from his paper, the paper with headlines and city seals and his name beneath them, and smiles. Tate Blue, singing tenor and reading zoning reports over breakfast like it's nothing. Talia makes me sit. They light a candle, a single one stuck crookedly into a waffle as it belongs there, and then before I can protest they start singing. "Happy birthday to you." I laugh because I don't know what else to do. My face feels hot. My chest tightens in a way that isn't painful, just overwhelming. Tate grins across the table, elbows propped up, clearly pleased with himself. Tate was eating his waffles covered in lemon while he heaped my plate with all my favorite foods. Ever since the first time I came to the Blue House, Tate has always served me like I'm a guest. They finish. Talia claps once. Terrence nods solemnly like this is official business. 18, he says, "That's a big one." I mumble a thank you and finally eat, the food grounding me in my body. Crispy chicken, warm waffles, chocolate melting just right. I try not to think about how different this is from the mornings at the trailer, quiet, half empty, my mom asleep on the couch with the TV flickering to no one. Tate ate his lemon-flavored chocolate waffles while I helped myself to waffles. After breakfast, Tate walks me to the door like he's escorting me out of a hotel. "All right," he says, "go home, get ready, be back later." "7," I say. He nods. "7." I sling my knapsack over my shoulder, feeling the weight of the scarf hidden inside it, and step out into the morning. The air is cool. The sky looks too clear for how heavy my chest feels. As I head down the steps, Tate calls after me, "Don't think about it all day." I don't turn around, I just lift a hand in acknowledgement and keep walking. Because thinking is all I'm going to do about breakfast, about Emily, about tonight. About how 18 already feels like standing at the edge of something I don't know how to cross, leaving a house that's never been mine, carrying a stolen scarf and a heart that hasn't figured out how to let go. I bike home alone, telling myself to get through the day. Just get through the day. The trailer is quiet when I get home. Too quiet. The screen door creaks the way it always does and I step inside, dropping my knapsack by the door. The air smells stale beer and old upholstery and something faintly sweet that's gone wrong. My mom is sprawled on the couch, one arm hanging off the side, the TV on but muted. She's dead to the world, mouth slightly open. An empty bottle is on the floor within reach. She doesn't stir when I walk past. She never does. She doesn't know where I slept. She doesn't know it's my birthday. She hasn't known for the last 3 years, not really. I stopped reminding her after the second time she forgot. It felt worse to watch her realize, late, sloppy, guilty, than to just let the day pass unnoticed. I grab clothes, change, and don't bother leaving a note. There's nothing to say, I'm just passing through this place, same as always. By early afternoon, I'm at the theater downtown. The marquee is sun-faded, the letters a little crooked, but seeing the title still makes something loosen in my chest. Lucas. Again, third time this month. April's almost over and I've seen it 3 times already, which feels excessive until the lights go down and the movie starts and I remember why I keep coming back. It's about 2 friends, it's always about 2 friends. Lucas is younger, smaller, softer. He's in love with a girl who doesn't even realize she's outgrowing him. She doesn't mean to hurt him, she just does. She starts dating a jock, someone bigger, someone who fits better into the world as it's built. I sink into my seat and let it wash over me. I know how this ends. I know every beat, every look, every quiet humiliation. I know the way. Lucas, the character from the movie Noah loves, smiles like he's fine when he's not, the way he keeps showing up even when it costs him. I know the ache of wanting someone who chooses something easier. Tate acted like he was an island without feelings. I must be an exception because he has focused his entire attention on me since we met. Movies were different from real life. The difference is that in the movie the girl eventually sees him, understands, feels bad. Real life doesn't come with that guarantee. When the credits roll, I sit there longer than I need to, surrounded by strangers who are already standing up, already moving on. I wipe at my eyes and tell myself it's just the movie, that I'm not projecting, that this isn't my life echoing back at me from the screen. Outside, the sun is starting to dip, the day tilting toward evening. 7 p.m. isn't far away. My 18th birthday is almost half over and I've spent it alone, except for a boy who doesn't know he's the center of every story I keep seeing myself in. I should have moved on from Tate when I was 15, when our relationship changed. That was around the time everything about Tate started to change. It began quietly, almost small enough to ignore. The seizure that night in bed wasn't the last one. There were others after that, short, mild ones mostly, the kind that left him shaken but determined to pretend nothing had happened. I was usually the only one who saw them. Sometimes they came in the middle of the night when we were asleep, his body tightening beneath me while my head rested on his chest. Other times I noticed his hands trembling during the day before he forced them still. Tate's personality had changed from a lovable kid to a detached, emotionless teenage shell of himself, and he had never reverted to whatever he was before his 15th birthday. If I hadn't met the Tate of his youth, I would never have believed he had been a different boy. He hated anyone seeing weakness, but he didn't hide it from me. If anything, he grew closer to me because of it, not softer, not affectionate in the way people imagine love, but more attached, protective, possessive. At the same time, he started pulling away from everyone else. Teachers noticed it first. Tate had always been disciplined, almost frighteningly composed. Good grades, perfect posture, polite answers. The kind of student adults brag about. That version of him disappeared. He started swearing under his breath when teachers corrected him, not loudly, never enough to get in serious trouble, but enough that people noticed, when authority figures tried to challenge him. His eyes would go cold in a way that made them uncomfortable. He didn't care anymore, or maybe he cared too much. I watched him one afternoon when a teacher told him to stay after class. Instead of apologizing like the old Tate would have, he leaned back in his chair and muttered something sharp in French. Espèce de putain de canasse hautain, j'espère que tu vas t'aider faire avec ta propre salive. The teacher didn't understand the words, but I did. It wasn't polite. That kind of behavior spread into everything else. His appearance changed too. Tate had always been handsome in that effortless way rich kids sometimes are: clean shirts, simple jackets, expensive clothes that didn't look expensive. But suddenly he started dressing differently. Sharper, mature, more intentional, slim dark trousers, tailored jackets, crisp white shirts open at the collar. Sometimes, long coats made him look older than he was. He carried himself like someone walking down a runway rather than through a high school hallway. Girls stared, boys noticed too. He didn't seem to care about either, except when it came to me. With everyone else he became distant, almost detached, like he was observing life from behind glass. Conversations bored him, parties annoyed him, teachers irritated him, but when it was just the two of us walking home, sitting together in the library, lying in our bed at night, he was still there. I needed Tate, he needed me, and the world didn't know how to deal with two 18-year-old boys who cared for each other as deeply as we did. Sometimes I wondered if the major seizures that started when Tate was 15 had changed something in him. Not just physically, but deeper. Like something inside him had cracked open, and the person that stepped out afterward didn't feel the need to pretend anymore. Tate's personality and attitude veered so far away from who he was before that I hardly recognized the boy I loved anymore. The world started seeing Tate as difficult, unpredictable, even arrogant, but I saw something different. I saw the way his hands searched for mine in the dark when nightmares came. I saw the tension in his shoulders when his body betrayed him. I saw the quiet way he pulled me closer against his chest like I was the only steady thing left in his world. Everyone else said Tate had changed. But when he held me at night, breathing slow against my hair, whispering words in French as he drifted back to sleep, I knew one thing hadn't changed at all. No matter how distant he became from the rest of the world, he never pushed me away. Not long after the seizures started, the anger came. It didn't look like the kind of anger most people expected from Tate. He wasn't the type to pick fights with other students or shove someone in the hallway. His fury seemed to turn toward things that couldn't fight back. Inanimate objects became his enemies. The worst target was his mom's old truck. I saw it happen one afternoon in the driveway. The door stuck when he tried to shut it, bouncing slightly instead of clicking closed. For most people it would have been a small annoyance. For Tate it was like the world had insulted him. "Piece of shit," he snapped, slamming the door again. The latch still didn't catch. His face went tight, eyes dark with frustration. Then he kicked the door hard enough that the metal rattled. "Fuckwad," he shouted at the truck like it had done something personal to him. Close. The door bounced again. That's when he really lost it. "Goddamn stupid cunt door," he barked, kicking it again. "You useless twat." I stood a few feet away, stunned. Tate had always had a sharp mouth, but lately the words coming out of him were different, sharper, dirtier. Half of them I'd never even heard before. He swore constantly now. Not just the usual stuff everyone said at school. Tate's vocabulary had expanded into a strange collection of insults that sounded almost theatrical. Sometimes English, sometimes French, sometimes combinations I didn't even recognize. Eventually, the door finally shut. Tate stood there breathing hard, staring at it as it had personally betrayed him. Then he noticed me watching. For a moment, the anger disappeared from his face, replaced with something quieter. "You didn't hear that," he muttered. "I heard all of it," I said. He rubbed the back of his neck, embarrassed but still irritated. "It's a stupid door." "It's a door," I said carefully. He exhaled through his nose, then glanced at me with a faint, crooked smirk. "Still a cunt." I shook my head, half shocked and half amused. Tate was changing. Everyone could see it. But strangely, when the anger burned itself out, when the swearing stopped and the tension drained from his shoulders, he always drifted back toward me like I was the only person who didn't make him feel like he had to hold everything together. The world got the explosions, I got the silence afterward. I was 15 when I first noticed something about Tate that unsettled me. It happened slowly, in passing comments at first. We were walking home from school one afternoon when a couple of older boys passed us on the sidewalk. They were holding hands and laughing about something one of them had said. Tate's mood shifted instantly. He watched them walk by with a look I couldn't quite read, something sharp, something tense. "Chomos," he muttered under his breath. I frowned. What? He didn't look at me. Nothing. No, you said something, I pressed. What's a chomo? Tate kicked a loose pebble on the sidewalk, sending it skittering ahead of us. Just idiots, but it kept happening. If two boys got too close to each other in the locker room, Tate's jaw tightened. If someone joked about a guy being gay, Tate didn't laugh the way everyone else did. His reaction was colder, harsher. Fucking chomos, he said once under his breath. I had no idea what the word meant, but the way he said it made it clear it wasn't something kind. It confused me more than anything else. Later that day, Noah shifted awkwardly in his seat in the kitchen, glancing between Talia and the stove. The word had been stuck in his head all afternoon, nagging at him. Mrs. Blue, he said, hesitating, can I ask you something? She looked up from the kitchen counter, her expression calm but attentive. Of course, Noah, he rubbed the back of his neck. What does chomo mean? The room seemed to be still for a moment. Talia's mom paused, setting down the dish towel in her hands. She didn't look angry, just thoughtful, like she was choosing her words carefully. Talia frowned, looking between Noah and her kitchen counter. Okay, but where did you even hear that word? Noah hesitated. Tate said it. Tate, she repeated. Why would he say that? Noah shifted uncomfortably. He saw two guys holding hands at school, and he said it then. Some other kids laughed. Talia's expression dropped immediately. That's not okay. His mom set down her mug, her tone calm but firm. No, it isn't. That word is used for something very serious, and it has nothing to do with two people holding hands. Noah nodded quickly. Yeah, I figured it didn't make sense. It doesn't, she said. And using it like that can be really hurtful. Sometimes people say things because they've heard them somewhere else, not because they understand them. Talia shook her head. That's just ignorant. Noah looked a little uneasy. I didn't laugh or anything, I just didn't get it. I'm glad you didn't join in, his mom said gently. And I'm really glad you asked about it. When something feels off, it usually is. Talia nudged Noah lightly. Next time Tate says something like that, maybe tell him he's wrong. Noah gave a small, thoughtful nod. Yeah, I think I will. It's not a nice word, she said gently. It's slang for people who hurt children in a very serious way. Noah's stomach dropped a little. Oh. It's the kind of word you might hear in movies or online, she continued, but it's not something people should throw around casually. Topics like that are serious and they affect real people. Noah nodded slowly, staring at the floor. I didn't really get it. Tate said it at school. I'm glad you asked instead of guessing, she said, offering a small, reassuring smile. If you ever hear something that doesn't make sense or sounds wrong, you can always ask. Talia nudged Noah lightly. Yeah, better than repeating it and getting in trouble. That earned a faint smile from him. Yeah, definitely, he hesitated, then said it quickly. Are gay people predators? Talia's eyes widened slightly, but her mom didn't react with anger, just patience. No, Noah, Mrs. Blue said gently, they're not. He looked relieved but still unsure. Then why do some people say stuff like that? Because sometimes people repeat things they've heard without understanding them, she explained. Or they've been taught something that isn't true. Being gay just means an adult who's attracted to or loves a person of the same gender who is 18 or older and consents. It doesn't make them dangerous. Some queer individuals are teens and kids, but our society doesn't see the difference between consent and illegal sodomy of a long-forgotten time. Noah nodded slowly. So it's just wrong to think like Tate. Yes, she said, and it can be hurtful to people when those kinds of things are said. Talia leaned over. That's why you've got to think before repeating stuff like that. Noah gave a small nod. Yes, I get it now. Mrs. Blue smiled softly. Asking questions as you did is the right thing. That's how you learn what's true and what isn't. If Tate thinks guys who are affectionate like that are chomos, Noah said, his voice uncertain, then why does he trailed off, searching for the right words. Why does he touch me so much? Why does he make me sleep in his bed? Talia didn't answer right away. She turned off the water slowly, drying her hands with a towel, her expression unreadable. He's finally asking, she thought. He's starting to see it. Noah shifted his weight. Is he just a hypocrite? He asked, quieter now. Talia let out a small breath, leaning back against the counter as she studied him. It's not that simple, she said. Noah frowned slightly. Of course it's not simple, nothing with Tate ever is. He says things like that because that's what he's been taught, Talia continued. That's the environment he grew up in. Power, control, image, everything is about how things look, not what they are. Noah's brow furrowed deeper. That doesn't explain why he acts the opposite with me. Talia tilted her head slightly. It actually does. Noah blinked. How? She hesitated, choosing her words carefully. Because with you, he doesn't see what he says he sees. Noah's stomach tightened. What does that even mean? He puts people into categories, Talia went on. Most people are disposable to him, performances, roles, but you, she paused, watching his reaction, you don't fit into any category he understands. Noah looked down, shaking his head slightly. That doesn't make sense, I'm not anything special. Talia's expression softened just a fraction. That's exactly the problem. To him, you are, she said quietly. Noah let out a small, frustrated breath. Then why does he talk like that? Why does he act like those people are beneath him? Because if he didn't, Talia said, her voice sharpening slightly, he'd have to admit something about himself he's not allowed to admit. Noah's head snapped up. What? Talia held his gaze for a moment, then looked away. That he needs you. The words hung there. Noah's chest tightened. Needs me? No, that's not right. Tate doesn't need anyone. He'd never say it like that, Talia added. So instead he controls it. He defines it on his terms. He tells himself and you that it's not about feelings, that it's about rules, about roles. Noah swallowed. So it's not real. Talia shook her head slowly. It's very real, she said. That's why he works so hard to pretend it's not. Noah's thoughts spiraled. If it's real, then what is it, and why does it feel like I'm the only one who doesn't understand it? And the touching? Noah asked, almost reluctantly. The sleeping next to me. Talia sighed softly. That's the part he can't fake. Noah felt his heart beat a little faster. So he is a hypocrite. Talia gave a small, sad smile. No, she said, he's conflicted. Noah frowned. That sounds like the same thing. It's not, she replied. A hypocrite knows the truth and ignores it. Tate. She paused, choosing her words carefully. Tate is trying to rewrite the truth so he doesn't have to face it. Noah looked away, his mind racing. So what am I to him if it's not what he says and not what I think, then what is it? Talia watched him quietly, her expression thoughtful, almost worried. He's trying to figure out in real time, she said finally. Noah's eyes flicked back to her. What's that supposed to mean? It means, Talia said gently, that whatever he feels, whatever he tells himself, it doesn't change the fact that he controls everything around him. Noah's chest tightened again. And you, she added softly, are the one thing he doesn't fully control. Noah didn't respond. But the thought stayed with him. If Tate doesn't understand what he feels, then what happens when he finally does? The moment passed, but the weight of the conversation lingered just enough to remind him that some words carried more than just sound, they carried meaning that mattered. At night a few days ago we still slept the same way we always had, me with my head on his bare chest, his arms wrapped tight around me like he didn't want the world getting anywhere near me, his fingers laced with mine while we slept. But during the day he acted like people who loved the same sex were something disgusting. The contradiction twisted my brain. One night I finally asked, Tate. He made a sleepy noise beside me. Yeah. Why do you hate gay people? His body went still. They're unnatural and disgusting, he said flatly. You call them chomos. Silence filled the room for a long moment. Just something people say, he muttered. What does it mean? Another long pause. Doesn't matter, he said finally, just forget it. But I couldn't forget it. The way he said the word carried too much anger, too much resentment for it to be nothing. I wondered where it came from. Tate wasn't the kind of person who followed what other people thought. He didn't care about gossip, school rules, or authority figures, so hearing him echo something hateful like that felt strange. Almost out of character. Sometimes I wondered if it came from his homophobic teachers. Sometimes I wondered if it came from something deeper. But every time I tried to ask, Tate shut the conversation down quickly like it was a door he refused to open. The room was dark, quiet except for the steady rhythm of breathing and the faint hum of the house settling around them. Tate was already half lying across Noah, one arm draped over his chest, his fingers loosely intertwined with Noah's like it was the most natural thing in the world. It always felt natural, that was the problem. Noah stared up at the ceiling, his thoughts refusing to settle. Talia's words earlier kept circling in his mind, poking at something he hadn't been able to ignore anymore. He swallowed. Tate. A quiet pause. What? Noah hesitated, but only for a second. Why is this? He shifted slightly under him, their hands still linked. Us sleeping together like this, holding hands. Why is it not gay or unnatural to you? Tate stiffened. But when other guys do it, Noah continued, his voice quieter but steady, you act like it's disgusting. Silence, then Tate pushed himself up suddenly, sitting upright in bed. The movement was sharp, abrupt, breaking the stillness like glass shattering. Be quiet, Noah, Tate snapped, his voice low but edged with anger, and go to bed. Noah's chest tightened, but he didn't look away. No, he said quietly. That one word hung there longer than anything else. Tate turned his head slowly, eyes narrowing. He's pushing, his jaw tightened. Why is he pushing this now? Don't start this, Tate warned. But Noah didn't stop. You didn't answer me, he said, you never do. Tate exhaled sharply through his nose, running a hand through his hair in frustration. Because it's a stupid question. It's not stupid, Noah shot back, his voice rising just slightly. You act like it's one thing with everyone else and something completely different with me. That doesn't make sense. Tate leaned over him again, suddenly closing the distance, his presence pressing down, familiar and heavy. His arm wrapped around Noah, pulling him in close again as he could physically end the conversation that way. Go to sleep, Tate muttered, his voice lower now, more controlled. But Noah didn't relax, not this time. No, he said again, his voice firmer now, even as his body stayed where it was. You don't get to just do this and not explain it. Tate's grip tightened slightly, not enough to hurt but enough to assert. There's nothing to explain, Tate said, his tone hardening. This is different. How? Noah pressed, it's literally the same thing. It's not, Tate snapped. Then tell me why. Tate went still. For a moment it felt like the air itself stopped moving. His mind raced faster than his control could keep up. Because it's you, because I need this, because I can't sleep without you, because if I admit what this is, everything falls apart. But none of that could be said. None of that was allowed. Instead, Tate leaned closer, his voice dropping into something colder. Because I said so. Noah flinched slightly at the tone, but didn't back down. That's not an answer, he said. It's the only one you're getting. Noah's frustration bubbled up now, mixing with something else, something deeper, more confused. So everyone else is wrong for doing this, he said, but when it's me, suddenly it's fine. Tate's jaw clenched. Yes. Why? Because you're not everyone else, Tate said sharply. The words came out before he could stop them. Silence followed. Noah blinked, caught off guard. What does that even mean? Tate realized what he'd said, and something flickered in his expression, annoyance, maybe even regret, but it disappeared just as quickly. He shifted slightly, pulling Noah closer again, pressing his face into the side of his head like he could bury the conversation entirely. Drop it, Tate muttered. But Noah's mind wouldn't let him. If it's not wrong, Noah said more quietly now, then why do you act like it is with everyone else? Tate didn't respond right away. His fingers tightened slightly in Noah's hair, a grounding motion more than anything. Because if I don't, I lose control. Because if anyone sees this for what it is, because I'm not allowed to be that person. You wouldn't understand, Tate said finally. Noah's chest tightened at that. Then make me understand. Tate let out a low, frustrated breath. I'm not explaining something that doesn't matter, he said. This, his grip tightened slightly, pulling Noah flush against him, is nothing, it's just sleep. Noah's thoughts immediately pushed back. Then why does it feel like more? Then stop acting like it's different, Noah said. Tate didn't answer because he couldn't answer. Instead, he held him closer. Tighter, like if he just kept him there long enough, quiet enough, still enough, the question would disappear. But it didn't. It lingered between them, unspoken now but heavier than before. And for the first time, Noah didn't fully relax in his arms. Noah didn't relax, not this time. Tate could feel it immediately, the difference in his body, the stiffness, the way he wasn't melting into him like he always did. It was subtle, but to Tate it might as well have been a shout. "Go to sleep," Tate muttered again, his voice lower, now tighter. Noah shook his head against him. "No." The word landed more heavily this time. Tate's arm tensed around him. "Noah." "No," Noah repeated, pulling his head back just enough to look at him in the dark. "You don't get to just shut me up this time." Tate's jaw clenched. "Why now? Why tonight?" "It's not a discussion," Tate said, his tone sharpening. "It is for me," Noah shot back. That was new. Tate pulled back slightly, just enough to see his face. Even in the low light he could tell Noah wasn't backing down. "He's serious." "You're making something out of nothing," Tate said, trying to regain control of the situation. "It's not that complicated." "Then explain it," Noah said immediately. Tate exhaled sharply. "I already did." "No, you didn't," Noah pushed. "You just said because I said so, like I'm 5. Something flickered in Tate's expression, irritation, but something else underneath it, something closer to being cornered. "You're acting like a child," Tate snapped. "No, I'm asking a question," Noah fired back. "You're the one acting like it's illegal to answer it." Silence. Tate's grip on him tightened slightly again, instinctive. "Drop it," Tate said, quieter now, but more dangerous. Noah's heart thudded in his chest. This is where I usually stop, he thought. This is where I give in, but he didn't. "Why is it okay when it's me?" Noah asked again, his voice softer now but somehow more direct. "Just answer that." Tate didn't respond, because every real answer was sitting right there ready to come out, and none of them were allowed. "Because I need you, because I can't sleep without you, because this isn't the same." Instead, Tate looked away slightly, his voice flattening into something controlled. "It just is." Noah let out a quiet, disbelieving breath. "That's not an answer." "It's enough of one." "No, it's not," Noah said, shaking his head. "Because you treat everyone else like they're disgusting for doing the same thing." "They are," Tate said instantly. Noah stared at him. "Then what does that make me?" That question hit. Tate's eyes snapped back to his. For a second, something unguarded slipped through. Not the same, not them, not replaceable. But it vanished just as quickly. "You're overthinking it," Tate said, more harshly than before. "This doesn't mean anything." Noah's chest tightened. "Then why does it feel like it does?" "Then stop acting as if it does," Noah said. Tate's patience snapped a little. "I said drop it," he snapped, his voice rising just enough to cut through the quiet. Noah flinched but didn't back down. "No," he said again. The room went still, completely still. Tate stared at him now, really stared at him like he was seeing something new and not entirely liking it. "He's pushing back. Since when does he push back like this?" "Why does it bother you so much?" Tate asked suddenly, his tone shifting, less explosive, more probing. Noah hesitated. That question hit somewhere he wasn't ready for. "Because it doesn't make sense," Noah said finally. "Because you act like I'm different, but you won't tell me why." Tate's expression hardened slightly again. "Maybe you don't need to know why." "Yes, I do," Noah said, "because I'm the one in your bed every night." That landed. Tate inhaled slowly, his control slipping in small, almost invisible cracks. "You're here because I want you here," he said. "That's not a reason," Noah replied. "It is to me." Noah searched his face. "There's something he's not saying, there always is." "Would you do this with someone else?" Noah asked quietly. Tate didn't hesitate. "No." The answer came too fast, too certain. No one noticed. "Why not?" Tate's jaw tightened again. "Because I don't want to." "That's still not an answer." "It is the only answer you're getting," Tate snapped. Silence stretched between them again, but it wasn't the same silence as before. It was heavier now, sharper, unresolved. Noah didn't move, didn't relax, and for the first time Tate couldn't just pull him close and make everything disappear. Asking those questions made something in Tate shift in a way I'd never felt before. His hand tightened around my hips as we lay there, not protective, not absent-minded, tight, controlled, like he was holding something in. "Is it gay to do this kind of thing?" Noah asked. "You don't know what you're talking about," Tate muttered into the darkness, his voice low and edged. "I'm just asking." "Then stop asking." his grip sharpened, fingers digging in just enough to make me go still. Not pain exactly, but a warning, a boundary I wasn't supposed to cross. The room went quiet after that, but it wasn't the comfortable quiet we were used to. It felt heavy, like the air itself had thickened. Tate's breathing wasn't steady either. It came out in short, irritated bursts, the occasional sharp sigh breaking through like he couldn't settle. I stared at the ceiling, wide awake. Why does it bother him so much? It wasn't the first time Tate had gotten defensive, but this felt different, bigger, like I'd hit something buried deep that he couldn't or wouldn't explain. Behind me, he shifted, his forehead pressing briefly into the back of my shoulder. Normally, that would have been grounding, familiar. Tonight it felt tense. "You're not like that," he said suddenly, quieter now but still tight. "Like what?" I asked carefully. He didn't answer right away. His hand flexed once against my side before settling again. "Just stop comparing things, it's not the same." That was it, no explanation, just a wall. I swallowed, staring into the dark. "Not the same how? Why won't you just say it?" Another long silence stretched between us, filled only with his restless movements and low, frustrated breaths. Tate wasn't sleeping, not even close, and neither was I. After a while I shifted slightly, testing the space. His grip tightened again immediately. I think I'll sleep downstairs," I said quietly. "No," Tate snapped, sharper than before. "It's fine, you're not sleeping anyway, and I said no. His voice dropped, but it didn't soften, it hardened. "Stay." I hesitated. Why does he care so much? If he's this angry, why not just let me go? Another minute passed. Another irritated exhale from him, another shift. I couldn't take it. "I'll be back in the morning," I muttered, trying to ease forward to slip out from under his hold. This time his hand didn't just tighten, it held, not violently but firmly enough that I stopped trying. "Just go to sleep," he said, quieter now. But there was something underneath it, not just anger, something tighter, something almost desperate. I lay there again, staring into the dark, listening to his uneven breathing, his quiet growls, the tension he couldn't shake. I shouldn't have asked. Eventually I stopped trying to move, not because I wanted to stay, but because it was easier than fighting whatever this was. Behind me, Tate's grip didn't loosen, not once. I needed space and didn't know how to convey my wishes to Tate. "Maybe I should sleep downstairs," I said again. The words came out quieter than he expected, but they still landed. Tate reacted instantly. Tate leaned forward, striking Noah's butt cheek. The sharp smack made Noah jolt. "Ow!" he snapped, more startled than anything. Tate reached for him right after, trying to pull him back into place, back into what was normal for them. But Noah twisted away, actually pulled away. That alone changed everything. Tate moved closer. Noah moved off the bed entirely, feet hitting the floor as he stood there, breathing unevenly, putting space between them for the first time in a long time. "I'm sleeping downstairs," he mumbled again, not even looking back. Tate's expression hardened. "No, you're not." Noah didn't turn around, didn't argue, he just started to move. That's when Tate snapped. He lunged forward, grabbing Noah hard by the hips and yanking him backward. Noah stumbled, balance gone, dragged back onto the bed before he could catch himself. "I forbid it," Tate hissed, low and sharp. Noah's heart started pounding, now faster, louder. "Stop," Noah said, struggling, trying to push himself forward to crawl away. "Let go." But Tate didn't. He shifted behind him, stronger, heavier, using his weight to pin Noah in place. Noah twisted, trying to get free, but every movement just tightened Tate's hold. "Please, let me," Noah said again, his voice breaking slightly now as he tried to pull himself out from under him. It didn't work. Tate's arm came up, his hand pressing firmly over Noah's mouth, cutting off the rest of his words. "SHH," Tate whispered right against his ear. Noah froze, not because he wanted to, but because something about the moment hit differently now. Not routine, not normal, something else. "Go to sleep," Tate murmured, "birthday boy." His voice was soft, too soft for the way he was holding him down. Noah's breathing came sharp through his nose, his body still tense, still trying in small ways to shift, to create space, but there wasn't any. Tate kept him there, holding Noah in place like that was the end of the conversation, like resistance wasn't an option, and slowly, not because he agreed, not because he felt safe, but because he realized he wasn't getting free right now, Noah stopped struggling. His body stayed stiff under Tate's weight, his mind racing instead. This isn't just him being controlling, he thought. This is him not letting me leave. That realization sat heavily in his chest. Behind him, Tate's grip didn't loosen. If anything, it steadied like he'd gotten what he wanted. Silence filled the room again. Why? Noah asked. The word came out strained, caught somewhere between confusion and something sharper, something that had been building all night. Tate's expression darkened instantly. Do I need to duct tape your mouth to get a few hours of sleep? Tate scowled. Noah flinched at the tone, but this time he didn't go quiet. His chest rose and fell unevenly. I'm just asking. I didn't ask you to ask, Tate cut in, his voice low and dangerous. The room felt smaller suddenly. Tate stepped closer, closing the space Noah had tried to create, his presence overwhelming in a way that hadn't felt this obvious before. Take off your clothes, then lie back down, Tate said flatly. Noah froze, not because the words were unfamiliar, they weren't, but because of how they were said, not casual, not routine, an order. Something in Noah's chest tightened. What? He asked, quieter now but still holding on. Tate's jaw clenched. Don't make this harder than it needs to be, he replied. Just do it. Noah didn't move, didn't look away, and for a second, just a second, the balance between them felt like it might actually shift. I'm not a dog, Noah said under his breath. That landed. Tate went still, completely still, the kind of stillness that came right before something snapped or something changed. You're in my house, Tate said slowly, each word controlled. In my room, in my bed. Noah's fingers curled slightly at his sides. There it is, he thought, that's what this really is to him, but I'm still me, Noah said. Tate's eyes flickered just briefly, but it was enough to show something underneath the anger, frustration, something closer to losing control. Then act like it, Tate snapped, because right now you're just making things worse. Noah's heart pounded. Worse for whom? The question stayed in his head, but he didn't say it, not yet. The silence stretched again, heavier than before, and this time neither of them moved to fix it. Why is it diff? Noah began, his voice barely above a whisper. Before he could finish, Tate leaned down, his face close, and pressed a series of quick, almost desperate kisses to the tip of Noah's nose. Each kiss was firm, insistent, and for a moment Noah's concentration shattered completely. His thoughts scattered into 1,000 pieces. What is he doing? Why now? Sleep well, Tate murmured, his voice soft but possessive, and within seconds he shifted back, his weight settling over Noah like he had every right to be there. His breathing evened out, calm and measured, and he fell asleep as if nothing had just happened. Noah lay there frozen, staring at the ceiling. That wasn't normal, he thought. Why kiss me like that? Why does it feel like he's trying to claim something that isn't supposed to be claimed? Even now, asleep, Tate's hand draped over him, a silent assertion of control that went far beyond words. Noah's mind raced, his chest tightening as he tried to parse the contradiction, the anger, the dominance, and now, this strange, intimate gesture. He shifted slightly, testing the space, but Tate's arm tightened, anchoring him in place. Noah exhaled slowly, a mix of frustration, confusion, and something he didn't have words for yet. I don't understand him at all, he realized, and maybe I never will. The room was quiet except for Tate's steady breathing, but Noah's thoughts screamed in the darkness, unrelenting. And yet when the lights went out and the house went quiet, he still pulled me closer, resting his chin on my chest while we slept. Whatever anger he carried during the day, it never pushed me out of bed. I woke sometime around midnight, not because of a noise but because something felt wrong. The bed was cold, Tate wasn't there. For a moment I stayed still, staring into the dark, trying to make sense of it. Bathroom, I thought, he must have gone downstairs, but even as the thought formed it didn't sit right. Tate never left the bedroom once we fell asleep, not once. No matter how restless he got, no matter how many times he shifted or sighed, he stayed. My chest tightened. Slowly I slipped out of bed, careful not to make a sound. The house was dark, quiet in a way that made every small movement feel too loud. I stepped into the hallway and moved toward the staircase. Then I heard his voice. I froze. It was low, softer than I'd ever heard it, carrying faintly from downstairs. I stepped back instinctively, pressing myself into the shadows, my pulse roaring in my ears as I listened. You'll like everyone, Tate said. His tone was easy, almost warm. And yeah, I'll be there the whole time. It's his birthday and he wouldn't mind if you came. His birthday? Mine? Something twisted in my chest. I leaned just enough to see him. He was standing near the bottom of the stairs, phone to his ear, and he was smiling, not the usual smirk, not the controlled, distant expression he wore like armor. This was different, softer, almost shy. Okay, he said, yeah, good night. There was a pause and then good night, Emily. The name hit me like glass shattering inside my chest. Emily. The girl from the library, the one he'd kissed. I didn't need to hear anything else. The way he said her name told me everything I wasn't supposed to know. My heartbeat thundered as I backed away, each step careful, silent. I turned and moved quickly down the hallway, slipping back into his room, into his bed, pulling the covers up to my chin as I'd never left. Breathe, just breathe. I squeezed my eyes shut, forcing my body still, slowing my breathing. A moment later I heard his footsteps. The door opened softly. The mattress dipped as he climbed back into bed beside me, the familiar weight, the familiar warmth returning as if nothing had happened. Like he hadn't just stepped out of something else, something separate. He settled close. Like always, like this was normal, like we were normal. I didn't move. Emily. The name echoed again, quieter now but heavier. Of course, there was someone else. Of course that part of him existed somewhere, just not here, not with me. I pressed my face deeper into the pillow, hiding everything, the tightness in my throat, the way my chest ached, the tears I refused to let make a sound. Behind me, Tate shifted slightly, his warmth steady, familiar. His breathing began to slow, evening out the way it always did when he fell asleep. Nothing had changed for him, everything had changed for me. I lay there perfectly still, pretending sleep, holding myself together in the dark. Eventually, his breathing deepened. He fell asleep. I followed sometime after, not because I felt okay, but because I couldn't stay awake inside the feeling any longer. On the ride home, Noah let the rhythm of the bicycle and the whisper of the wind pull him backward through time. He could still remember the way the basement smelled. It was cool even in summer, carrying the faint scent of stone, cedar shelves, laundry detergent, and whatever Talia baked that afternoon.